Okay, so the last thing I want to do before we move on to local storage is be able to change this limit. Up to this point, we've just dealt with this hard-coded 2000, but I want to be able to change it through here. So let's add a new event listener. So we'll go down to our app class. And let's just grab this. Okay, so as far as what we want to grab from the DOM, it's the form with the ID of limit-form. And we want to listen for a submit. And then we're going to call a method called setLimit. So let's say setLimit. All right. Now the setLimit, we're going to put that down here. So we'll go right under reset and say set limit. Pass in our event listener. Our event object. And since it's a form, we want to prevent default. And let's get the actual limit. So we'll say const limit equals document get elemp ID and then the ID of limit. And we'll do an if statement here. And let's say if the limit dot value is equal to nothing, then let's do an alert. And we'll say, please add a limit. And then we'll return. Okay, then since the calorie limit is in the tracker, it has to do with the tracker, we're going to call a method in the tracker. So this dot underscore tracker dot set limit. And we're going to pass in the limit dot value. So whatever's passed in the form. However, when you pass data in a form, it's a string. So I actually want to pass this as a number. So I'm going to add the plus sign. Then I just want to clear the limit form, so limit.value, we're going to set that to nothing. And then I also want to close the modal, right? Because if we just leave it how it is, when we click save, this is going to stay, right? So there's just a couple lines of code we can add to close a bootstrap modal. And it's similar to what we did with the collapse. So we're going to create a variable here. Let's say const and say modal element, and that has an ID of limit-modal. Then let's say const modal, and we're going to say bootstrap dot capital M modal dot get instance, and then we pass in that modal element that we just created, and then we can simply do modal.hide. All right. Now, up in the tracker, actually, let me see. Did I make that public? Yeah, so just make sure you don't have an underscore here because set limit is public. We're accessing it from the app class. So let's go up to where we have our public methods in the tracker. We'll go right under reset and say set limit. Okay, and that's going to take in, we'll call this calorie limit. And that ultimately comes from the form. And then we can just simply set this dot underscore calorie limit to the calorie limit, right? Then we want to display that calorie limit. So we'll say this dot display calorie limit, which we already have. And then we just want to re-render. So this dot underscore render. Okay, so now it's set at 2000 by default, right? Even if we look up here, it's set to 2000. So let's say set, and let's change it to 1800. If I click save, you can see now this changes. So now whenever I add a meal or whenever I do anything, it's going to reflect with 1800 as my goal, my limit. So now that we have pretty much all of the UI stuff done, in the next video, I want to start on we're going to have a separate storage class to store in local storage, to remove from local storage, and so on.